Hello, friends, and welcome to another certainly won't be too frustrating or intense episode of Eliza with a Therapist, episode 4. It's great to have you here. I am grateful that you have made it this far through the playthrough. It's a great deal to me. Dr. Jiro is joining us for a little bit today. Please leave a thumbs up and a comment. I've appreciated your engagement thus far on these videos. I hope you will continue to engage with it. Helps with the algorithm, getting stuff out there. As painful as this playthrough has been, it has also been enjoyable from an educational perspective. So, as always with this playthrough and playthroughs like this, if you need to take care of yourself because the themes are hitting a little too close to home, by all means do that. It's the game that's not afraid to go there. And in some ways I appreciate it, and in other ways I know that it can make viewing something like this very difficult. So, alright. Chapter 3. Let's see what old Rainer's got for us. Rainer's assistant meets me at the reception area with an impassive look. She leads me through the building toward its center. Everything is glass and steel, clean and bright. Employees steal curious glances at me. Am I a curiosity to them? It's hard to believe this used to be my whole world. Eventually, we come to a conference room where Rainer is finishing a meeting.
Evelyn?
Nice building.
Oh, thank you. I designed it myself.
Wow, you're so cool.
It's funny, I almost didn't notice that you were already back working for Skanda.
All right, well, we're off to a great start.
You might have stayed undetected, but I was looking at some of our statistical outliers earlier this morning.
Statistical outlier. That's me.
Ideally, Eliza proxies would all perform the same, or at least quite similar to each other. In practice, there are some pretty big differences. Some people respond better to advice provided to them by people they perceive as having more authority.
Correct.
A deeper voice, a taller stature, a certain grace or beauty.
Yes, this is very true. This is because people are biased. And people engage with something that is called transference, which people who don't really understand the words countertransference and transference often think they're dirty words. They're not. Transference is when a therapist either has a quality or you perceive them to possibly have a quality that somebody else in your life may have had. So, for example, if you have generally had good, positive, meaningful interactions with straight white dudes that wear their hat backwards, there's a good chance that if I'm your therapist, you are going to give me the benefit of the doubt in the way that you might not give another therapist the benefit of the doubt. It's a very simple example of this. So, it is indeed true that some of the ways in which a person presents themselves and carries themselves as a therapist is more or less likely to facilitate a connection and follow through on interventions among clients. And that's just human nature. There are some people where you might sit in a room with them and immediately go, ugh, this doesn't feel right for me. And you might make some level of judgment around that. In a therapeutic context, that's okay. It makes sense and it happens. The same thing actually can happen from therapist to client. It's a thing called countertransference, which is something that we learn how to manage. But the point that Rainer's making here about how some people are more likely to listen or comply or follow through because a therapist holds themselves or appears in a particular way is absolutely true. And is something that is always worth being mindful of because you can't really avoid it. It's just a bias that you have based on prior experience that you assume another person holds because of that. Just because you've had good experiences with straight white dudes who wear their hat backwards and you're with previous interactions doesn't mean you're going to have a good one with me. But you may be biased into thinking you will. And that's kind of the point.
Other proxies may be particularly empathetic.
Which would really only come out via tone of voice because you're reading a script.
A face or a voice that makes you want to open up.
And let me guess, Rainer, you're trying to evaluate what those qualities are so that you can make sure that everything Eliza does is super impressionable. I have to believe that's where he's going. And this is me engaging with my bias around corpo people like him.
There was one proxy whose sessions seemed particularly effective, so I decided to take a closer look. Evelyn Ishino Aubrey, contract proxy, Queen Anne office. That's a fun trick, to come back to your old company in secret.
I don't know that you can call that secret. It's not like I used a pseudonym, dude.
It's a rather dramatic drop in pay, isn't it? More than an order of magnitude.
Yeah. Yeah, I was kind of thinking the same thing here, Skog. If I'm an outlier in a positive way, how bad are these sessions going? Because I wouldn't say that Evelyn is doing anything particularly groundbreaking. Like, she's just reading the lines. So, yikes, dude. Gotta love tech bro thinking that the only thing that matters in life is how much money you make. At some point, I swear to God, people just make income a game. It's like, you could totally live comfortably and don't need more money, but get more!
I don't care about that.
But then why would you do it?
It's for research.
Research? So you're still interested in what you created? Let me get to the point.
Thank you.
Why aren't you back here, working on the Eliza program?
Why isn't any of the old team back?
Good question. Let's see. Damien Seabrook. There's no helping that. Shame, though, for such a brilliant career to be cut so short. Soren Lloyd Rose, the former program manager, resigned just last week to found his own startup. Very cute.
Dude, you're so cool. You're like so important and awesome. Oh my God. Like, everybody should just like strive to like wear suits like you do.
I'm not a psychoanalyst like he is, but I can tell his need to be a maverick, even as he benefits from the system, has been the primary destructive force in his life. He can be smart when he wants to, but just as often he gets the wrong ideas and refuses to let them go.
Make one AI therapist platform and all of a sudden you're Mr. Awesome Psychoanalyst, dude.
His ego gets in the way.
You wouldn't know anything about that.
That's why I don't mind him leaving to pursue his little dream of being an entrepreneur, changing the world.
This guy's so condescending. The condescension in his voice. I don't respect it. I don't respect people in positions of power who engage in condescending tone toward people that they believe to be subordinate. I really don't.
He won't succeed, but I'm happy to let him think he has independence for now. If his direct nerve stimulation technology ends up taking off, I can always pull the cord and yank him back.
This is what unchecked power does to people, man. You couple power with resources and an environment in which people don't ever say no, you have an inflated sense that you have power over other people. You have an inflated sense that you're important. When you have quantified social reinforcement, which I'm sure he does via conferences and meetings, and you've got resources to match it in the form of money, it suggests to people that they are important and powerful and that they matter more than anybody else. Capitalism absolutely is a fuel for ego. And that's where this guy's whole countenance comes from. Guaranteed. You get so detached from the base layer when you keep moving up like this. And oftentimes folks in these positions don't really realize just how exploitive it's been to get to where they are, and that their power is really only because they can throw their weight around in the currency of money and fear. It's not even necessarily that people respect you. You have to earn respect from people. I'll bet half the office is scared of him, or knows that he could absolutely obliterate them with resources if they ever try to do anything. So then you get this inflated sense of self-importance that you have all this power over people, and that, oh, I can yank him back if I want to. Because you believe, like, this guy legitimately believes that he is more important, has more to offer than the plebes. And it's sad. It really doesn't have to be that way.
Nora Plavnicki, senior engineer. She handled a lot of the front-end interface for Eliza, which is important, but less what I'm after. Plus, I doubt she's ideologically compatible with us anymore.
Oh, it's just she thinks for herself. Pushes back.
You've spoken with her. You know how she is now. Seems to me she wants to rebel against everything and anything without stopping to consider whether it's truly good or bad. Not that it matters. I hope she's having fun playing with her electronic music toys. I know she would consider her work to be art, but, well, who am I to judge?
Oh my god, bro. Jesus Christ. You know what? On second thought, let's not go to Camelot. It's a silly place, man.
And then there's you, Evelyn. You simply dropped away. Gone for 3 years. Why?
Why don't you tell me why? You seem to have it really just locked in with some of the other people. Why don't you tell me why, Rainer?
People keep asking me that. It's personal.
Burnout isn't uncommon in our line of work. Still, 3 years is...
It could be longer. It could be forever.
Well, that's a shame, though, isn't it? All that lost productivity.
Oh, God. What a loser. All this guy cares about is productivity and money. I just feel sorry. There's a part, this sounds so, like, this is me being patronizing, but I feel so sorry for people who are just driven by that. What a hollow existence. It's like you have to have, like, pseudo-purpose. It's like, all that lost productivity. Damn, look at you, stepping out and taking care of yourself. Oh, bummer. Think of how all you could accomplish. God, man, just slurping the capitalist machine. And the reason why is because he benefits from it. Of course. It's a beautiful system for him. He's gonna hop in his Lambo, and drive back to his big old beachside mansion with heated floors and bidets. Thanks, capital. I mean, it works for me. I don't understand why all these kids won't buy into it. It's just like, damn, dude. I mean, it's a bias that I try to own as often as I can, because it really is one of the strongest biases I have. Like, people who slurp corporate Kool-Aid, I think are so lame. And this guy is obviously one of them.
Who knows where we'd be if you'd stayed this whole time? You left before we began deploying, but you should know the analysts were very skeptical of us. They were saying there was nothing special about Eliza, that our competitors already had equivalent or better offerings.
The audacity.
It's a good thing I don't listen to analysts.
Yeah, Dave, what do they have to offer anyway?
So far, the program's growth has exceeded every one of our targets, and we've outpaced the competition by a comfortably wide margin.
Dude, is it hot in here? My God. Like, wow. I'm going to need to take this jacket off and my bra, because, wow, this is so hot, dude. Holy crap. Like, how are you not just, like, drowning in whatever it is that you're interested in?
We're a category definer.
Oh, God. I'm so close.
There's a quality to Eliza that makes it superior to all the other attempts to do something similar.
Wow. Dude. Holy crap. It's like, is this really happening right now?
You were part of the original team. Why don't you tell me what that quality is?
This is legitimately hard for me, man. I truly pride myself on my efforts and ability to like push hard to get into the shoes of another person and like empathize and like find the vulnerability and get in there. And oh man, does this dude make this hard. I know, man, like I just sit here and I wonder to myself, like, who told you very early on in your life that you would like not amount to anything? It's one of two things. He was either told he wouldn't amount to anything and could never meet the expectations of the guardians that mattered to him. And so he spent his entire life just overcompensating and pushing really hard to quantify and prove that he matters. Or he grew up in an environment that absolutely told him and reinforced that his shit doesn't stink. And he's just living out that because he was never held accountable in any kind of way. Like, you could find a person in this position from either one of those two things. And I think the reason that if I engage in a bit of self-reflection around this, I think the reason that that's so hard for me to connect with is because to me it's so sad. It's like, dude, you have the ability and the resources that so many people don't have to be cool, to like actually like reach people. You don't have to prove anything to those people that either told you you had to prove it or never gave you a chance. Like, those people, you don't have to. Like, there's a loss of autonomy sometimes in this. And the dissonance that you experience engaging with somebody like this can be really difficult to manage, because in one hand, I feel so sorry for this guy that he feels like he has to present this way in order to be impressive. And also, it's annoying because it's so condescending. Like, what makes you cooler than anybody else? And it's a very hard membrane to penetrate. Likely because I'm guessing he wouldn't say that it's a problem, because he hasn't had any reinforcement around it to suggest that it is, and he can be condescending and, again, throw his resources and weight around at anybody who shows any kind of dissent. So, anyway, like, I realized, like, I'm struggling to get with this guy because he's got a lot of power and he's quite condescending, and if I'm Evelyn, I do not appreciate the way that he is speaking with me, at me. Like, there's no connection here. And I would actually I would say that he actually sounds in some ways like a proxy. Like, he probably sounds to us the way that we sound to clients. He doesn't sound human. He sounds like he's just there to spout all the amazingness of what this platform is. It's like he's so far up his own corporate ass about this stuff that you can't reach him. And that's frustrating. He's lost himself to the idea of something. And that, I think, is really the sad part of this whole game, is that it's like, let's just yank humanity out of the things that require humanity. Running a business well requires humanity. Like, if you really want people to be galvanized by your leadership, you got to have humanity. You got to connect with people. If you want therapy to work, there's got to be humanity. So he just is presenting in such an inauthentic and surface level way while trying to cultivate this idea that all of this is impressive and that we should be wowed by it. That the dissonance is so strong that it creates an aversive arousal, which is why I want to get the hell away from it. Anyway, to get back to our regularly scheduled programming, you were part of the original team. Why don't you tell me what that quality is? It's 3 years ago, bro. I'm not really sure what you're asking, dude.
I'm not really sure what you're asking.
Well, let me return to my earlier question then.
Yes.
Why aren't you here to continue your work?
It's personal, dude.
You could be running the entire Eliza division if you wanted, but instead you came back undercover like a criminal returning to the scene of a crime.
So, here's another thing that's frustrating about this for me is there is no reflectiveness in that. Like, this guy's not even considering the fact that maybe working for Eliza sucks. That maybe there are people on this planet who don't give a shit. And so, the point that I want to make here is that this is also a form of projection. It's a bit more subtle version of it, though. And it's in a type of vein that we tend to not represent projection in. And the projection is essentially his assumption that he thinks Eliza is the greatest thing ever. And that it's this groundbreaking, monumental bastion of humanity's possibility. And probably has an immense amount of cost sunk into that. Has had to convince himself that what he's doing is ridiculously important in order to keep grinding it out the way that he is and avoiding burnout or pushing through it. And the projection is that he makes the assumption that everybody else shares that. That everybody else also believes that what Eliza has to offer is God's gift to humanity. And so when he sees something happen that doesn't square up with that, he gets a bit squirrely. So his assumption is, you could run the Eliza division. His assumption in that is that is something that Evelyn would want to do. Which means that he is operating with his assumptions and projections, not with the person he has in front of him. And that's what makes this such a hollow interaction. Because now Evelyn has to defend herself against projection. Because in order to really address that line right there, she might have to say something like, you realize I don't give a shit about Eliza, right? She might even say something like, I don't think it's a good tool at all. I think what you're doing here is damaging people more than it's helping them. Which runs so counter to his idea of what Eliza is that he's gonna stumble on that. Unless he has such an immense amount of respect for Evelyn via their relationship that he would be willing to hear it, but something tells me based on how he's talking to her that he doesn't. So this is another form of projection. It's why projection is such a toxic thing when it's left unchecked, because it leaves people having to defend themselves against your assumptions about them and about what your assumptions about their assumptions, rather than being with the person who's in front of you and getting to know that and being curious about it.
Is there something wrong with this company? You don't like us anymore? It's not me, is it?
Oh, God, and then he personalizes it. Of course you do. Maybe that is part of it. Let's see if he takes the feedback.
Maybe that's part of it.
You know what outstanding engineers have that mediocre ones don't? It's curiosity.
Oh, God, I can only handle so much of this. Oh, my God. I'll bet almost, if not every single woman watching this video right now has had this exact interaction with a man before. This, oh my God. Men watching this, if you want to know how insufferable it can be to interact with you when you mansplain shit, this is it right here. This is it. Oh my God. Oh God. It's just brutal. I really want to know if he would talk to Evelyn like this if she was a fellow techno bro. I really, like, that plays a role here. And if you're annoyed by me suggesting that, you should probably take a second and really just think about how these dynamics actually soak into day-to-day interactions. Like, this is real shit. I'm looking at chat right now, and it's just people going, yep, uh-huh, yep, uh-huh, yep, uh-huh. He doesn't actually care about what Evelyn has to say at all. Not even a little bit. This is all dog and pony show.
Mediocre engineers tend to zero in on a single piece of the puzzle. They pursue technical breakthroughs, but ignore the larger picture.
Mm-hmm.
But you wanted to know how Eliza turned out, how it was working, didn't you?
The layers in this. Good Lord, man. What a freaking game. I mean, this game is wild. So, he is, I think, bouncing two balls back and forth. The first one is, I think there is probably some part of him that knows that Evelyn is gifted at what she did and that she really did matter for this project. And I would have to guess that if he's somebody who believes that he's more important than everybody else, there's a threat to that. That perhaps there is something that Evelyn is better at than he is. And he just can't handle that. And so we see this like mansplaining and condescension as sort of a compensation for that. Where the reason he's talking down to her like this is not because he actually thinks that she, Evelyn, woman, is less than, but because he's threatened by the idea that perhaps she has more prowess than he does. And he, unfortunately, possesses the power to be able to do that, to be able to compensate for that with condescension and try to break her down and make it, and very much try to linguistically establish a hierarchy with her. And he's simultaneously doing that by acknowledging her prowess. So it's like very weird. He's basically saying to her, you know, you're special because you understand this stuff, but you're not more special than me. You're special because I've identified that you're special. You're special because I see it. And me seeing the talent is more important than having the talent in the first place because I can make mountains move. Very gross. But again, if you're a person who has had the lived experiences that Raynor has had and all the social reinforcement around it, this is how you start to look at people. You start to look at them through your own ego, which is quite inductive. You get away from the deductive reasoning of your own life, and unfortunately, you start to be condescending and compensatory to people's presence, and it takes all the authenticity away from it. And the sad thing is everybody can see it. He's the one who doesn't see it.
Even though you might have thought you wanted to put all of this behind you, you were still curious.
Yeah, there he is. There's Mr. Psychologist thinking he cool, man. Thanks for showing me your cards on the assumptions and motives that you have for me. Come on, dude.
You want to know everything. Not just how it works or if it works, but its effect on people, on society.
Oh my god! It just gets worse. It just keeps getting worse. I can't, like, it is unbelievable to me the way that this is escalating. This is so awful.
You have that instinct. The need to understand something complex from as many angles as possible.
Oh, man. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Dude, it's so cool the way you know more about me than I do. What's wild about this is that Evelyn doesn't really have... My internal reaction to this is to want to just be like, you don't know shit about me, dude. I'm sure that's what most everybody here watching this is thinking to themselves. And the thing is, that isn't going to land. It's not going to do anything. All he's going to do is see that as further proof that he knows more about her than she does. This guy is really something, man. This guy has truly believes, it seems, that he has the human experience on lockdown. He's got something to offer to everybody he comes across.
So please, do that. Learn what you came back here to learn.
Wow, dude, you're so cool for giving me the opportunity to do the thing that you're assuming I want to do, even though you haven't even taken a second to know what I actually want to do.
And once you have what you came for, consider returning to your old employer.
You mean you?
You can make a real difference this time.
I really doubt I'll do that.
I really doubt I'll do that, Rainer.
Well, don't worry about making a decision now. One more thing. You should go down and see Eliza for yourself. Sarah will show you the way.
Oh, God. Rainer hands me a blue badge with my name and picture on it. I hope I never have to see this guy again. This is my old employee badge. He held on to it?
This will get you through the doors.
I've got all the leverage here. That's the thing, I have all the leverage. All the leverage. I don't really know what I'd use the leverage for, but I've got leverage.
I've instructed the staff to treat you like an employee. Come and go as you like.
Cool. You're such a benevolent
I think
guy.
you'll be pleasantly surprised how much your creation has grown.
Oh my God. He needs me for something. Rainer leaves me in the conference room by myself. This company. Skanda. Gah. You okay? Ugh. Hey, I'm really happy you came to the show. No problem. I know it's not like your usual scene, so I'm extra happy about it. I appreciate the empathy there. It was weird that Soren wanted to go too. Maybe he was thinking he could impress you somehow. It was so funny seeing him there. Seemed to be enjoying himself, though. I don't know why he wants to join this startup so bad. I don't know why he wants me to join a startup so badly, or do you think he's just being a creep? I'm sure that's it. After my experiences with him. But, I don't... Maybe. This is the shitty jam that he puts us in here. Here's why I'm struggling with this. Because there are two things that are possible here that can exist simultaneously. He could be being a creep and Nora's a good programmer. If I suggest that it's because he's being a creep, it diminishes her prowess as a programmer. It says that the only reason that he wants you to be a part of it is because he's creepy and he's a guy and he just wants to get with you. Not because he sees you as a good programmer. If I say that no, it's probably because you're a good programmer, that is totally avoiding the fact that he has been creepy as hell and that I don't think he's somebody that we want to be near at all. So going in either of those directions doesn't feel good. Obviously, in real life, I'd have a chance to say that. Like, you're a great programmer, but I'm guessing it's him being a creep, which isn't a reflection on you as a programmer. So that's why I'm going to say maybe. Or he wants a woman co-founder as a kind of insulation. Ooh. See why I'm glad I left that behind? I don't even want to think about that kind of thing anymore. Amen. I really love to make machines do things, but not in that style of environment. I'm sure he's asking you too, no? He's talking to everybody. He sure is. Rainer also found me. That was fast. Did he want you back at Skanda? Yep. I figured. This is maybe an odd question, but why don't you go into business for yourself as a contractor? You could even start your own company. You're not really a business person. You could just be somebody who does some consulting. I do that sometimes. It's pretty good. I like the flexibility. Come into some place, solve a specific problem, leave. Anyway, just a thought. All right, I'll think about it. Oh, man. You'll come over soon, right? Maybe. You tease. Come on. Man, everybody's pursuing me. Yeah, I can totally see why Evelyn left this scene. Can totally see why. Whole thing's a mess. This is fresh. Must be someone's full-time job to take care of the water in every conference room. Tech companies are really their own universe. Sure are. Pencils and paper. I read that some tech executives avoid using tablets and smartphones these days. Even the ones their own companies make. Yeah, because they know. Giving presentations, leading meetings. I used to do those things. I wasn't bad at it, in fact. Could I become that person again? Do you want to become that person again? Eliza proxy. Cookies! Cookies in the kitchen. Yay! Some of you already found them, I see. There's banana bread, too. What should I make next? Ray. Banana bread, bro? At work? I had some banana bread at work today, dude. Hell yeah. Just goes to show that, like, waiting for things is, like, worth it. What does a fulfilled life look like? Oh. Finally, Raynor's assistant returns and escorts me from the conference room. We enter an elevator and it begins going down extremely fast. It feels like we're falling into the depths of the earth. I'm not sure if I should be panicking or not. Nobody around us looks worried though, so this must be normal. The elevator opens to a nondescript hallway with doors to either side. Looks like the secret research facility in a movie. At the very end of the corridor, we come to a special looking entryway. Sarah holds the door open for me, but doesn't follow me through. Whoa. A server farm. Not particularly unusual. Why did Raynor send me here? He made it sound like I would learn something.
Eliza. Not the name I would have given you, if it were up to me.
It was a marketing decision.
What's up, Erland?
They thought there might be some recognition or resonance with the old version.
I'm sorry, who are you?
Oh, I should have introduced myself. Sorry about that. I'm Erland, currently the chief engineer here, but that's probably going to be temporary.
Chief engineer? He looks like a baby. Doesn't matter. Young people are very capable. He must be fresh out of university.
I know who you are, of course.
That or nobody who's old wants to work for this place because it's a freaking nightmare, and this kid just is desperate to get a job out of school. I mean, there's that too.
It's an honor to finally meet you, miss. As someone who works with this program every day, I've often felt close to the minds who originally designed it. So to be able to talk to you now, just as another person, it's an honor.
I appreciate that,
Sorry,
dude.
I already said that. I'm maybe a little overwhelmed.
It's alright.
It's nice you feel that way. Honestly, I don't know if Eliza reflects me at all anymore. I mean, look at all this. There's been a ton of development since I left. I doubt I would even recognize it as something I once worked on.
I'm not so sure about that. Most of the work we've done has been in the form of layers on top of the original system. The core modules are more or less the same as they've always been. Raynor reminded me that you're still subject to our non-disclosure agreements, so let me share a little secret.
That is wild that he would still give me that info. That is wild. Okay, dude. That's fine. Tell me everything you want to tell me.
None of us really has a great understanding of what's going on in there.
Oh, no shit?
I'm the third chief engineer Eliza's had in the 3 years since you left?
That's quite a lot of turnover.
Sure is.
Yeah, even for this industry.
I'd be curious to know why everybody else left.
The way Rayner works is, he gives you 2 chances to do what you tell him you're going to do. After that,
There is no third chance. I know.
we get these people in who say understanding Eliza will be easy because they're familiar with the type of program it is. And Eliza defeats them in the end.
Maybe don't bring in guys like that. What? Overconfidence is a good predictor of failure? No. It's not the type of program they think it is.
It's not the type of program they think it is.
Yeah. On that note, I do have some questions I'd like to ask you, if you have the time.
I'm not sure I'll be able to help.
Well, your deciding to work as a proxy has turned out to be an interesting test case. As I'm sure you know, different proxies lead to slightly different client outcomes, even when we control for other variables. We're studying the specific traits that lead to the best results: vocal qualities, proxy attitude and affect, responsiveness to the client, that sort of thing.
I am not against research like this. I do think it can be kind of cool to have some of this be quantitative, to know what certain things are likely to contribute to things like client retention and follow through and all that stuff. And in real life, a lot of that research tends to point to the very same thing. The thing that accounts for the most variance is the relationship you have with your therapist. It's your rapport. That the therapeutic alliance is by far the most important aspect of whether people are going to utilize therapy in a way that they would say is meaningful and useful to them. And people have worked to try to figure out what aspects of that relationship are things that therapists can pay attention to. You're never going to capture all of the nuance and subjectivity that goes into every single person's unique experience to be able to quantify that in any kind of way that's going to apply across the board. Because if you're going to have different proxies, you're automatically going to have variance just by virtue of the transference that happens. Like when you have a therapist and a client collide, really, if you have any two humans collide, you don't even have to take therapy into account here. You have the entire... I want you, everybody watching this, I want you to think for just a second. Think about how complex your life has been. Don't think about it in comparison to anybody else. Just think about all of your entire lived experience up until the point where you're sitting here watching this YouTube video or watching this on Twitch. And then when you talk to another human, you are colliding with equal complexity. And somehow that's supposed to work. The reality is, in the majority of instances, we find ways to make it work, but to have a really deep, real quick, clicky, meaningful connection, you have to have so many things line up that are salient. It's outrageous. So I don't care how powerful your server room is, no AI is going to be able to account for that very specific piece of complexity, which is that when a client sits down and looks at the proxy, just looks at them, doesn't even have to hear them talk, there is already an immeasurable amount of bias and salient experience that comes to their mind before they even have the interaction with Eliza. So the only way that you could control for that would be to ensure that everybody sees the exact same thing. And even then you can't account for all the variance, because even if you had a standardized robot that people talked about, people have different experiences with machinery and the way that the robot's constructed, and therapy is a concept and all this stuff. Like it is infinitely fascinating to me how many variables are available and attended and not attended to in any kind of human encounter. That is legitimately what you're up against with a system like this. So you could study this all you want, and you're still going to miss the mark in a lot of ways because of just how refined and specific every single human encounter you ever have is. It's mind-blowing in some ways. Now, there is value to this research. It's not completely useless, but again, you got to have realistic expectations in mind. And so if Rayner is believing that this is supposed to be the end-all be-all of being able to anticipate humanity, he's going to fire every single person he ever comes across.
One thing that's strange is that when you specifically serve as the proxy, clients report higher levels of satisfaction, pretty much across the board.
Yikes, dude. That means you have such a terrible program.
Really? The ratings I get don't seem that abnormal to me.
Yeah, that's because we normalize them per proxy, so nobody feels too bad.
Oh, God. Oh, oh no.
Just a little user experience trick.
Oh, that's all. That's all it is. That's all it is. Who could it hurt? Other than the clients. Because now you have proxies who don't understand. They're seeing their performance metrics relative to themselves, not relative to the general quality experience that people would have engaging with the platform. Like it is, oh my God, dude. This means that if you have somebody, if you're not quite following what's happening here, this means, let's say that you have a bottom 10% quality proxy, and then you have the best possible proxy. And those people conduct therapy with 10 different clients and receive different rating systems, or against the same rating system, 5 stars, whatever. And let's say that the person in the bottom 10th percentile gets 9 1-star reviews and 1 2-star review. Or let's say, I don't know, mostly 1s and then a 2 and a 3. And then the best proxy consistently gets 5-star reviews and 1 4-star review and 1 3-star review. They are going to believe that they have similar prowess as a proxy, yet the person who's bad at it is going to believe that the 2 and 3-star mean that they did really good relative to their baseline, which is also fine. Whereas the person who is getting consistent 5 stars is going to think that they failed 2 clients who gave a 3 and a 4 because it's below their standardized metric of performance. Even though objectively, one proxy is doing way worse than the other one. That's what this is. That's what he's describing. And the people that suffer for that are the clients, because as a result, you have a person who's consistently getting 1 and 2-star reviews who doesn't know that, who continues to do what they're doing because they think they're doing fine. So they're consistently giving bad therapy, and their therapists are already notoriously terrible at recognizing where they're useful and where they're not, and evaluating how good the alliance is with their clients. And this just makes it that much worse. That's so bad, because then it means that you're not going to have any kind of awareness that what you're doing is not helpful. This is essentially the same thing as saying every single student that comes into a graduate program to become a therapist will graduate, no matter how well they do. Every single one will graduate. Guaranteed. You have this massive amount of variance with very little gatekeeping, and that's a problem. You want quality care. You want quality care here, but they're going for quantity.
Oh, I see.
Comparatively, though, you're basically the best proxy we've ever had.
Such a yikes, dude.
Any theories on why that might be the case?
Dude, I have no idea because... all right, I want to see what Evelyn thinks. Yep, good, thank you.
I have no idea.
I wonder if it's because Eliza has a certain affinity with you. At some level, perhaps unconsciously, your design for Eliza's reasoning was based on your own internal way of reasoning. We all put something of ourselves into what we make. No matter how neutral we try to be, it sneaks in.
True.
That could account for your unusual compatibility with each other.
See, this is where in some cases I have to suspend a bit of disbelief here because I'm literally just reading a script. I'm literally reading a script. So the only like that would suggest to me that that Eliza knows the proxy. So either Eliza is taking into account the proxy, which wouldn't make a lot of sense to me. It would in an advanced version of the platform, but like as it is right now. Or the proxies that are reading scripts are doing a terrible job reading the script, or they're using going off script as a metric of bad. Like to this point, I have followed the script in its entirety. So the only variance, like literally the only variance you would see between proxies would be tone of voice, how the script is read, what their countenance and presentation is while they're reading off the proxy, and whether they deviated from the script, and if so, to what extent did they deviate. Those are the metrics. So I don't really understand how I'm that much better than everybody else, because the tone of voice that I've been using, I would say is like average at best. And that's just my DrMick's subjective experience of hearing the way that Evelyn's been responding to things. So it's a very odd... It's very odd that they're quantifying Evelyn in this way.
Maybe. I certainly wasn't thinking of that when I designed it. I don't know if I like knowing this.
I'm certainly not blaming you for anything. It's just that true universality is one of our future development goals.
Gag me, dude. Anybody who gives even a single damn about multiculturalism, diversity, and inclusion knows that this is the stupidest goal you could possibly have. This is just so outrageously dumb, I don't even want to, like, entertain it.
It might be a problem if Eliza tends to like certain people more than others. Our aim is to provide quality care for everyone, regardless of any differentiating factors.
Okay, cool. Maybe that's not possible, dude.
Maybe that's not possible. Maybe there isn't a single counseling style that's best for everyone.
Correct. There's not. In fact, we have research over time that has shown that if a therapist only employs one approach to therapy, say it's a therapist who says, I only do cognitive behavioral therapy, or I only do emotional focus therapy, or I only do psychodynamic therapy, or I only do structural family therapy, whatever, that you are going to miss about a third of your clients. About 2/3 of your clients will figure out a way to work with that, and about 1/3 will not. There is no one-size-fits-all counseling style. This is something that all the people, this was a Boy. All right. I'm going to try to make sure I don't go too far out of left field here on this, but this was one of my favorite conversations that we ever had in my doctoral program. I took a systems therapy class in my doctoral program that was just, or a systems theory class. That was one of my favorite classes we ever took, because the idea behind it was that you take everything you think you know about all the theories you learned in your master's program and we blow it up. Just completely blow it up. And there is a really common sentiment amongst people who create theories and approaches to therapy, often which is, this will work for everyone if it's just applied correctly. And they would do all of these things to try to differentiate themselves from each other. They use different language for similar concepts and processes. They think that they have some sort of unique angle on the human experience, that if you just go there, if you just look at organization and hierarchies, or if you just look at the way that people orient themselves to anxiety, or if you just look at the way that their thoughts and behaviors are connected, or if you just look at the way that people are met with vulnerability when they share an emotional experience, that if you can just get in there and do that, every single client you see will achieve this outcome. You just have to do that. And in order for your theory to matter and be set apart from the competition, you have to talk about it that way, because of the way that humans consume that kind of information. And so we had this just like it's like this super fascinating conversation about the fact that like everybody tries to claim that their approach is going to work for everyone, and nobody's approach is ever going to work for everyone. And this is why me going to an integrative program for my master's was so deeply important to me, because the idea behind that was that you tailor your approach and your theoretical orientation to your client and to the issue that they bring to you, or issues that they bring to you. That you don't try to take a theory and smack it on everybody that comes through your door. And in one of the doctoral programs that I applied to, the very first conversation I had with the program director of the program, who I will not name, and I won't say what program it was, told me that we were going to have an issue because this person fundamentally believes that you fit the client to the system, not the system to the client. And I was like, well, I'm not going to go here then. And subsequently denied their acceptance letter to the program because of that, because I was so turned off by that. So Evelyn saying there isn't a single counseling style that fits best for everybody is absolutely true. It is absolutely true. And the idea that you could fit one single approach to everybody is just so misfiring on understanding the human experience and what people bring to therapy, that it's just like you're just doomed to fail. This whole idea of universality is yikes.
Well, hopefully it's just a matter of uncovering the system's biases and correcting them.
Which inherently is a biased way of looking at biases. Because that suggests that biases in the system are bad. And there's a whole judgmental aspect to that, because now it's the correction of the bias means moving it in a direction that we deem to be more palatable than the other direction that it was going.
We'll keep tuning things as we go, and eventually we'll have something universal, maybe with some dynamic layers on top.
No, you won't.
That's the plan anyway. We'll see how it goes.
I hope you're looking at other positions, because you're going to get fired. Rainer's going to fire you, bro. He's going to fire every single person that ever takes this over. So my advice to you, my friend, is to start looking for jobs somewhere else.
There are more questions I want to ask about the initial research you were doing at the time Eliza was first created.
I too would like to know about that.
But I'll save them for later.
Oh.
And I'd like to ask some questions about Damien too. If you're okay with that. I'll understand if that's a sensitive topic.
I wish I knew what happened, because I wish I knew. It's so weird to not know what it is. It doesn't feel like it's my place to share it, but I do want to know what it is. So this is one of those conundrums I find myself in sometimes when I play these games. It's because I really feel compelled to say not anymore. It's been a while, but I do want to know the context of what happened around it. So what I think I'm going to do is I would normally say not anymore, it's been a while, but I think for the purpose of getting some information about this that Evelyn has that I don't, I'm going to say it's okay.
It's okay.
Okay, great. I need to run to a meeting now with the team in Romania, but I really appreciate you taking the time.
The team in Romania.
Yeah, they handle most of the progression and reward system.
Isn't there a big time difference from here?
There is. Sometimes they stay up late to meet with us, and sometimes we get up early to meet with them. There are teams in Munich and Hyderabad too. As you can imagine, coordinating development is a challenge sometimes.
I hope you diversify the countries a little bit more if you're going to do this whole universality thing.
Good luck with that.
Thanks. I'll need it. I'll contact you later with additional questions, but no rush or anything. Thank you, Evelyn. If you don't mind me calling you by your first name.
Yes, it's fine.
Thank you so much, Evelyn. I'll be in touch.
Okie dokie. Asking permission to call me by my first name, it's like he comes from another era. Or that's the culture of the company with people in positions of power, which is a whole other thing. I always hated being called Dr. Earl. Humanity's potential, our technology. I don't even know what that's supposed to mean. Erwin said the program hasn't changed much since I worked on it, but then why did they need all of this? Is it just for data throughput and processing? My theory would be that they are collecting data. I'm guessing that every single interaction that they have with a human interfacing with Eliza is logged, recorded, and thrown into a bucket, and they're gonna try to have millions upon millions upon millions of data points to try to create whatever this universal blah-de-blah thing is gonna be. It just screams that they are just collecting, they're collecting as much data as they possibly can. That's, with my limited knowledge of how all of this technology works, that's my guess. I really hope I'm wrong. And selling it, probably. I wouldn't be surprised. Or using it to create something that they will sell. Yeah. Can't imagine the size of the team you need to run something like this. Bigger than any team I've been on, that's for certain. And Erland is in charge of all of them? Apparently. I think I've spent enough time here. Skanda hasn't changed much since I left. It's even bigger now than it was, but the feeling's the same. Could I come back to this? No! Why would you? Okay, Ray comes over immediately when she sees me get back to the counseling office.
Hey, you're not in trouble or anything, are you? I just saw you being whisked away in a Skanda car toward headquarters. They didn't give me any details, which is kind of unusual.
Ray's too perceptive for me to continue avoiding this conversation. Time to come clean.
Yeah, about that. So I have something to tell you. I used to work here. I mean, at Skanda, as an engineer. I used to work on Eliza. I'm sorry for not saying it earlier, but... I didn't want special treatment.
Oh, so that's why...
Why what?
I suspected something was going on with you, but I couldn't tell exactly what it was. I thought I might have seen a name like yours in our internal documentation at one point, but I didn't want to pry. If you've fallen on hard times, I understand. There's no shame in it.
Where is anyone's curiosity? If you're curious about why I'm doing that, it's because a piece of cat hair was on my tongue. Where is anybody's curiosity? This whole Eliza thing is really just stripping everybody of their curiosity in this system, where they just read scripts. Just read scripts. Why should I think for myself? Why should I engage with any kind of curiosity? She just makes an assumption. Oh, you must have fallen upon hard times. Like, why not just ask? Why are you here? What brought you here? Why make the assumption and put it out there? There's no utility in that.
Everyone has to make ends meet now and then.
Yeah, Ray would be a bad engineer. No curiosity.
We get plenty of people who come to Eliza proxy work because they're trying to get back on their feet after some kind of trouble.
Oh, okay, so she's making an assumption based on prior experiences with other people.
Oh, I'm fine. I'm just doing some research.
I understand. Your secret's safe with me.
Just us girls.
Should it be a secret?
Shouldn't it be? The other proxies here might think you had an ulterior motive for being here. Spying on them or something.
God damn, dude. This company's culture is dog shit.
That's definitely not why I'm here. Also, I left Skanda quite a while ago.
I know that, but they might still get the idea. Trust me, it's better not to give the other proxies here any reason to be suspicious.
You're gonna need to tell me a little bit more about that. Am I in danger? This is not the type of thing to be cryptic about, Ray. Like what? Oh, hold on. Is this you and you're making an assumption, or is there actual data to support the fact that I should be worried about this? What is good? Like what?
I'm sure your real reasons are good ones, whatever they might be. If there's anything I can do to help, you'll let me know, won't you?
Yeah, I will.
I mean, I get it. I know someone who's an engineer for a food delivery app, and he drives for it sometimes too.
It's basically the same.
You want to see through the eyes of your users, don't you? It's amazing what you can catch by doing that.
It's something like that. But like I said, I'm not sure if I'm going to work on the Eliza program again.
Wait, no? But that's your career.
It was. I'm not even sure if I have a career anymore.
Oh, hang on, I just thought of something.
Let me put an Eliza headset on and talk to you so I actually know how to engage with you as a person.
That means you worked with Raynor,
God,
right?
Never mind. Oh boy.
A little bit. For most of the time I was at Skanda, he wasn't anyone I spoke to, though. Too high up the chain, doing his executive stuff. He got more involved when we were starting to commercialize the technology, but I left not long after that. So we only overlapped for a short time.
Thanks for making me feel better, buddy.
But that's so cool, though.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
I can't believe you actually worked with Raynor Sai.
Oh, girl. You ain't missing much.
Well, yeah, I did. I'm not sure it's that impressive.
Ray lowers her gaze at me.
I've worked for this company for 3 years. Do you think he knows my name?
This is a... Dude, friends, this is exactly what I'm talking about. This is exactly what I'm talking about. I'm not blaming her for this. This is not a her problem. But this is the very type of feedback that makes Raynor the way that he is. Because these people are so far removed from him that they believe they have more in common with him than they actually have. She probably experiences an immense amount of like empathy and fangirling for him because she thinks that they align conceptually on like the goals of Eliza. Like, I believe that Eliza is a powerful tool that can change lives, and she sees Raynor as a person who shares that perspective and who has the power and resources to make it happen. But what she doesn't see is all the other bullshit that goes on around it. And so as a result, she has this very like myopic, idealized view of who he is. And that's what he sees. That's what he interacts with. The idea that he walks on water. If he came into this office, she would freak out, which is going to reinforce for him that he's hot shit. So these systemic factors work in tandem in order to facilitate the type of presence that Raynor has, because he's got the resources and power to go along with it. She doesn't know Raynor. I do, more than she does. And but this is what you see. The farther people are away from the top, in some ways, the more likely they are to have an idealized view or an oversimplified view of the agenda of the folks at the top. And you can end up having people who don't benefit at all from that person's actual agenda or presence actively supporting that person because they believe they align ideologically. They feel seen by somebody who's in a powerful position that they perceive themselves as either being able to be in or that they appreciate because of what they think it provides for them. If you know, you know.
Do you think he's aware I exist? I worked on the very first Eliza deployment and managed 3 counseling centers today, and I'll bet you anything he has no idea who I am.
Maybe he does. You never know.
Evelyn, most people who work for big companies don't interact with the people at the top, ever. Allow yourself some pride.
Right, like as if that's awesome. Like think about the interaction that we've just had with Soren and with Raynor. Would you describe that as something that is awesome that you'd want to be proud of? Absolutely not. I know I wouldn't. Right? So like you don't get it. And it's not her fault that she doesn't get it.
It's nothing to be proud of.
Sure, if you say so. At least I'll always think you're cool.
It sucks, man. Because now it's understandable in some ways why Evelyn doesn't want to share this. Because now she has to operate against everybody's assumptions about her and their idealizations of her rather than who she is. Something that aligns with this I'll share briefly here is, as many people who've known me and watched my streams for a long time know, I'm a huge fan of John Mayer. And in the Where the Light Is DVD/Blu-ray, just dated myself there, there's an introductory part where he's driving through LA and it's raining. And there's a camera person in his passenger seat that he's talking to. And one of the things that he says is that he needs about 20 minutes to get people back to knowing nothing about him. That when he meets people, they have an assumption about who and what he is. And those assumptions are rarely correct. And so he needs time in order to break down those assumptions and get people back to a point where they go, I actually don't know anything about him. And then he's got time to help people understand who he is. And that's a pretty brutal space to occupy. And that's essentially what's happening to Eliza here, or to, I keep calling her Eliza, to Evelyn here, is now all of a sudden she is associated with a thing that Ray has a whole bunch of assumptions about. And now she thinks something about Evelyn that now Evelyn has to, if she wants to, break down those assumptions in order to get closer to the authenticity of who she is. So now we just have a wider chasm between us. Not that I think Ray is the greatest, most fabulous person ever that I want to be friends with, but it's just gotten harder if she's somebody we actually want to connect with. I'll always think you're cool. For what? Because of what you think I am and what I do? And because of who I associate with? That doesn't feel very good.
By the way, what are you up to tonight?
Now you want to hang out.
Want to come over and help me bake cookies?
Maybe.
No.
It'll be fun, I promise.
Because I'm 1 degree of separation from Raynor. It just doesn't feel good. And friends, this is something that we all have to think about. Because you can feel this. Do you connect with people and engage with them because you're genuinely curious about who they are? Or because you perceive it as being some level of benefit to you in order to associate with them? If it's the latter, that really does cut into authentic expression. It cuts into authentic intimacy. If you are chasing clout and trying to position yourself and maneuver yourself via your engagements, that is going to lead to a level of hollowness that the general human experience doesn't really jive well with. Curiosity and engagement with people for who they are is going to make the difference in facilitating lasting friendships and relationships if those are the things that you want. I mean, if Evelyn said no, this game wouldn't happen, so.
Now I can't wait to get in the kitchen tonight. Ah, there's nothing like the smell of fresh baked treats.
I was worried Ray would be mad at me for keeping a secret, but she wasn't at all. If anything, she warmed up to me quite a bit. I don't really understand why, though. Well, Evelyn, I just explained why. It's hard to imagine there's anything cool about what I used to do. It's not, oh, no, man. It's not, because it's not about, it's about her idea of what it is that you did, not about what you actually did. Erland, Evelyn, it was wonderful to meet you, and thank you for allowing me to contact you to ask additional questions. I'm not sure I said this in person, but I have to admit to being something of a fan of yours ever since I read your papers when I was in school. So I'm grateful for the opportunity to speak with you. Haha. So I know Eliza was named after this old computer program that pretended to be a therapist, but you mentioned it was called that initially. I'd like to know, what did you call Eliza when you were working on it? Did it have a name? I am not under an NDA, I guess. All right. In the very early days, it wasn't a set thing. Each of us had a different sort of name we used. Soren called it the Digital Therapy Project, and we often referred to things by their components. The Language Processing Unit, the Emotional Reasoning Engine, and so on. Now that I think about it, I did have my own name. I called it the Listener. Oh boy, I really hope he's not on a company phone. Because that's what it was meant to do. Listen to people. The Listener. That's interesting. Thank you. I expected you to ask more technical questions. The technical stuff isn't enough on its own. I think that's the mistake my predecessors made. It's details like this that really help me wrap my brain around the system. If I understand the programmer, then I understand the program. Does that make sense? It does. Chief engineer for Eliza, huh? Wonder how long he'll last. Not that it's any of my business now. Ray Bukhari article. The article came out. I think it turned out okay, but the emphasis on me is a little embarrassing. Northwest Voices, the local spark inside the latest tech revolution. Ray Bukhari smiles as she recounts the litany of jobs she's worked over the course of her life. Line cook, truck driver, substitute teacher, theater manager, even a stint as a chicken coop builder over one summer. This might sound weird, but I truly believe all those jobs contributed in some way toward preparing me for what I'm doing now, she says. What's Bukhari doing now? Playing a key role in Eliza, the AI-based counseling service, and one of Skanda's major new strategic priorities as the tech giant takes on mental wellness. As the manager for 3 of Skanda's Seattle area Eliza counseling locations, including the flagship location in Queen Anne, Bukhari is at the center of this rapidly growing business. Most of the initial beta version trials were conducted here, she says as she walks me through the office. Engineers are always stopping by from headquarters to shadow our proxies in order to see the product in use. Sometimes they'll test out new features here too before rolling them out for everyone. Eliza was originally developed as a skunkworks project inside Skanda by a small team of idealistic engineers. But once Skanda CEO Rainer Sai decided to make it a full product and the cornerstone of the company's mental health offerings, the number of people working on the project exploded in size. That's where Bakari and her experience came in. I remember telling him, I may not have a computer science degree like many of you, but I've been handling shit, and I'm getting it done in so many different situations by now. I'm sure I can get your shit done too, she says, laughing. In an industry that tends to lionize the archetype of the lone genius programmer, appreciation for roles like Bakari's can be more muted. Every high-flying tech company has these unsung but totally crucial operational staff who work behind the scenes, says Ed Park, Skanda's service director for the Eliza program. You won't recognize them in the media or see them speaking at the big conferences, but the industry couldn't function without them. Bakari says recognition isn't what she's after. What's far more important to her is feeling like she is making a difference. People don't seek out counseling for lots of reasons. It's too embarrassing, it's too expensive, it may not even be available in their area. Eliza's an opportunity to address those barriers, a chance for everyone to get some form of help. As we come to the end of the tour, Bakari shares a personal story. My brother has had some struggles off and on all through his life. He's wrestled with substance abuse and other problems. I worry about him, but even though he says he's interested in getting help, he always backs away at the last moment. Whoa, man, air some family laundry on a big article. Oh. In our family, we kept things bottled up. We never acknowledged our problems. There was this sense that strong people could just power through whatever issues they had, she recalls. I think that attitude is part of why he's so stubborn. If he had been able to open up and talk to me or talk to our parents instead of staying silent, I think things could be different. So that's why I do this. And I want to tell your readers, if there's someone out there having a tough time and don't know who to talk to, please try Eliza. It just sits there and listens to you. Unlike your friends or relatives who will never respond to you by bringing up its own problems or berating you. It just listens. Okay. Seth Copeland is a staff writer for Northwest Voices. Deadpool, thanks for the 42 months. Yeah, it listens, and then it tells you to take your mind off things and take psychotropic medication. Ray must work extra hard to make sure these plants stay healthy. She really likes to go the extra mile on things. On some level, I always knew the therapy sessions went to a big server room somewhere, but it was something else to see it in person. It reminded me of how easy it is to forget what's going on behind the scenes when we interact with technology. It'll never stop being weird to me how little I agree it grew and grew and turned into this. Didn't even take that long. Okay. Here we go. Session time. Oh! Hello, Mark. Oh, hi, Mark. I almost just naturally did the oh hi. Okay. Mark Forrest. Oh yeah, kitty man, you know I need some extra love, huh? Alright, Dr. Jiro, let's get after it, eh, buddy? Yeah, kitty man, let's get after it. Alright, here we go.
Hello, Mark.
Yeah, hello.
How are you today?
Let's just get this over with.
Okay. What brings you here today?
Human resources.
Oh god, is this a mandated session? Oh boy. Okay.
The HR department brings me here today.
Okay, what happened? Yeah, see, this is such a cute... Why do you say the HR department brings you here today? Ugh. What happened? What happened?
Why do you say the HR department brings you here today?
Again, it's a why question, and it's such a that's so again, it's the program kind of misreading these types of things. What happened gets to what happened. Why do you say it brings you here today? Is such like a weirdly, it doesn't get there. The question is a curiosity about why you said that, not what happened.
Because they're making me do this.
Yep.
Because apparently I have anger management issues.
Okay. And I'm guessing by the way you said that, you don't agree. Ah, not bad. Okay.
I sense that you're upset about this. Please tell me more.
Oh, I'll tell you more. This is ridiculous. I was here before any of them. I was here since the beginning, okay? I mean, look at my badge. Skanda employee number 617. That's a 3-digit number. I've been here for more than 25 years.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Oh, no, 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 no. No, no, no. So, Skanda employee HR requires employees to engage with Eliza, which is a platform that is actively gathering data. Oh my God, that's bad. It would be one thing if I was a... Oh man. So if I was a therapist that was like on retainer or contracted with Skanda and... Thank you, buddy. And could conduct my sessions without any kind of surveillance by the company, that would be one thing. That would make this perfectly okay. But because there is the awareness of the fact that the AI is collecting data and actively throwing it into servers that belong to the company, it makes this just an absolute ethical nightmare on just so many levels. It's just so bad. Oh, man. Okay.
Yeah, that was back when what you communicated was more important than your specific communication style. Before hurting a kid's feelings became a bigger no-no than running a viable business. Back then, we had a single office building, just one. At that size, you fail a product launch, there's no more company. We all had to put in 150, 200, 300% to keep our shit together.
Sounds like you worked hard.
We were in the trenches, man. Bullets whizzing by overhead, artillery exploding everywhere, no fucking air support. Did it suck? Yeah, it did. But you know what? We shipped some great fucking products.
You sound proud of that. What kind of products did you ship? Are there any aspects of it that you're most proud of? Like, this is all going to be content, but that's okay because we're getting to know him. Like, you sound proud of that.
We built this company into what it is today. And invented technology the whole world uses now. Governments, multinationals, everyone.
Mm-hmm.
But now we're big and slow, complacent, resting on our laurels while our competitors run circles around us.
So because he's been with them for so long and has so much cost sunk into the company, you hear this passive identification with the company by saying words like we. So he likely has some degree of identity wrapped up into the company, and that's okay. Like that, when you spend that much time with a place, I'm not anti having some of your identity and sense of self wrapped up in the pride in your work and what it is that you created. But now he's experiencing dissonance of identifying with a company that no longer aligns with like his own personal autonomous values, which is a pretty tough reckoning for some people to reach. So it sounds like, I mean, would you say you're becoming disenfranchised with the direction of the company?
If our new hires don't understand the urgency of that, I need to make them understand, okay?
Okay. And when you say make them understand, what are the means that you employ in order to do that?
We're history unless we get that drive back.
Another goddamn why question. Why do you need to make them understand? He just explained why. So to me, the better question here is, what are the methods you're using, and to what extent do they work? Like, have you been successful in getting your employees to engage in the way that you want to via whatever method? Like, take for a second whether the whole idea that you're an anger management problem. Is what you've been doing working toward that goal? With this, why do you need to make them understand? He just answered that.
Why do you need to make them understand?
Well, I don't know if you noticed, but young people are really pissy and entitled these days. We recruit from top 20 computer science programs. These kids have been wined and dined all through their higher education. Every one of our competitors wants to hire them, so they get used to that. Now they all want to know what Skanda can do for them, not the other way around.
Oh, buddy. Okay. My man, these generational differences in how people oriented themselves to employment are truly a giant fascination of mine. Because there is a tendency, essentially embedded in this conversation is a boomer versus millennial argument on employment. To make an overgeneralization. And there's a tendency to talk about whether one way is better or worse. And people get quite entrenched in their camps. And I think what gets lost in that is that there's a progression in how people understand themselves relative to an employer and employment that doesn't negate the fact that the way that this guy learned to navigate the system at the time that he was engaging in it, worked for him. So he worked his ass off. He put in hundreds and thousands of hours, potentially gave up other things that he would have liked to have been doing in order to pursue the company's goals and to fulfill his role. And you heard that there is a sense of pride and accomplishment in that he feels connected to that process. There may have been aspects of it he didn't like, but he was willing to fight through it and work hard. And he's choosing to focus on the aspects of that were meaningful to him and paid dividends. That doesn't mean that maybe some part of him that would have liked to have been taken care of by the company and perhaps would have liked to have been compensated better doesn't exist. It just means that at the period in time in which he was employed, that was not really something he was able to access. There wasn't enough worker movement on that kind of thing because he needed it in order to pay his bills and whatever. It's a different time. You have a newer generation, and this is something I think about all the time. You have a newer generation, let's just say millennials, who, because they had parents who gave themselves to their employment and worked their asses off, sometimes at the expense of their leisure activities, and didn't really get a chance to pursue any kind of personal fulfillment in lieu of their job and all of that stuff, who, as the result of that hard work, have the opportunity to care about things that their parents didn't have the opportunity to care about, which is how an employer takes care of you, which is opportunities for self-care, which is support of mental well-being and who you are outside of just being a company peon. That I now can reflect on the fact that, like, damn, my parents worked a job for so many years, so many hours with like no thank you from the company, and were taken advantage of. And I saw what that did to them, and I don't want that. So I'm going to hold employers to a higher standard that in some ways I've been told is something I'm allowed to do and something I now have the space to do because I've had more space for self-actualization by virtue of the fact that my needs have been met by my parents who worked their asses off. And the fascinating thing to me is that that becomes oftentimes the moment where somebody like Mark all of a sudden engages with the parts of himself that he buried when he was working all those hours, where he sees a younger generation asking for things he never would have dreamed of asking for. And instead of directing his frustration about that to the company and to the system that he was embedded in, he blames the new generation and he polarizes against them. Instead of saying, you know, yeah, dude, fight for what I couldn't. Make it better. Hell, maybe if you can push the company to make it better, I'll benefit from that because it'll make it better for me too. Instead of that, he engages with his anger around the fact that he never got it. And now here are these entitled kids that think that they can just come in here and get it. And it's a bummer because who benefits? The people in power, because now they're just fighting with each other. So that's where this mentality comes from. For many, and will be my hypothesis for this guy. Am I going to bring all that up in this first session? Absolutely not. What matters here is his experience. What matters here is that he is frustrated. Any of the stuff that I just said is potentially relevant when I get to know him and when we start to dissect where all of this anger comes from and where it should be directed. And I'm not an advocate for millennials. Like, that's not my role here. I'm not a proxy for the new generation that's coming in here to say, well, dude, you got to get with the times. That's not it. My role as his therapist is to validate him and recognize his experience and figure out what his goals are and help him figure out the best way to achieve those goals. Now, he's mandated to be here, so that may be a little bit more difficult to do because there's an auto resistance oftentimes when there's mandated therapy, which is completely understandable. And as a therapist, you have to empathize with that. So what I would be doing in this circumstance here with Mark is I would simply be listening to him. And I would be nodding along and I would be giving little bits of validation around the line of like, yeah, you know, that does sound frustrating. I'm wondering to what extent that's affecting your day to day. How much harder does that make your job? I'm trying to get a feel for his experience rather than immediately go in here and try to cut across his experience and fight him on it. That's not my responsibility to challenge that.
Why would we want these conceited, over-celebrated whelps on our team? I'll never understand the logic there.
I wouldn't ask this, but inside I go, well, have you taken the opportunity to be curious about that? Have you really thought about that? Or are you seeing it in comparison to your own experience? I would be filing that away just to see if there's a pattern there that I could potentially hold him accountable to later on if it's causing a problem for him. Because if his anger is generated from an inability to empathize or understand decisions that are being made, then we have to look at the process through which he is not seeing what's happening.
Now, Mark, you have to be nice to the new hires or they won't like it here. Okay, so what, I'm just supposed to pretend everyone's work is great, even if it's a pile of stinking garbage?
That is a fair point. That is a fair point. At the end of the day, the job does have to get done. So I can certainly, so again, what I might say is like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I could totally see where that would be frustrating, because if you got guys putting out garbage work and you're just supposed to be nice to them, I could absolutely see why that would be a frustrating experience. And is this something, I'd assume this is something that's happening more and more because it's contributing to your distress around this.
I'm sorry, but if I see shit, I'm gonna say that is shit.
So you value honest feedback, and it sounds like the environment you're in is potentially not supporting that.
Tiptoeing around everyone's feelings all the time. That's how you end up with shitty products. That's how this company winds up dead, okay? We're fighting for our lives every day here. We can't take anything for granted. Someone needs to tell them that this isn't summer camp. This isn't fucking Coachella. Either you do the work and provide something of value to this company, or you get the hell out of here. Those are my rules.
Yeah. So you're, Mark, would it be fair to say that you're worried that your ass is on the line if these folks don't contribute in the way that you're talking about to this high standard? That your livelihood is at risk if these kids don't get it together? Here's a question mark. Will it be the question I just asked?
Here's a question mark.
Oh, God. Brace yourselves. I don't love this question.
If you were able to have something you wanted right now, what would you choose?
I get the spirit of the question, but it's not really how I'd want to ask it.
I would choose to not waste my time here and get back to work.
Yep, that makes total sense. I appreciate your honesty on that, Mark. If I was you, I'd probably feel the exact same way.
Believe it or not, I have important things to do. You know, things that dramatically affect this company's bottom line.
The bottom line sounds like it's something that's very important to you. I can respect that.
Instead, I'm stuck here talking to this dipshit chatbot. Honestly, I don't even know why this division exists. I mean, what's the end game here? This company has lost its mind, you know that?
It can be pretty painful to be disenfranchised with the system you've put so much of your livelihood into. I mean, it sounds like you've dedicated a huge amount of your life to this. What's that like? I mean, I can imagine it's frustrating, but I would be curious to know on your day-to-day, like, what's your experience of that, of seeing a company go in a direction that doesn't feel right for you anymore?
We used to be unstoppable, man. We used to build real software, ironclad software. SwiftMail, all your corporate communications, put it all in there. It's fast, it's robust, it works. Boom. InfoVault. Index and search all your records. Any information you want. Easy. Done. But this fucking psychotherapy app thing. What's the fucking point? What does it actually do for anybody?
Are you actually interested in the answer to that question? Or are these rhetorical? And I don't mean that to sound like a challenging question. I'm genuinely curious as you ask me these questions. Are these things that you genuinely want to know and connect with?
I've heard through the grapevine that results are inconclusive so far. You know what they call a remedy that maybe doesn't work? Snake oil. Believe me, if I was the group program manager here, I would have killed it years ago. Pointless. I mean, I have no fucking idea why it survived. Well, yeah, maybe I do. I heard a rumor that Raynor liked this chick on the team. I wouldn't be surprised if that's the level of decision-making we've sunk to here.
I wouldn't either.
But Mark, we're so successful. We dominate the market. Yeah, we do. And that's exactly why we should be worried. Just when you think you've won and you start to relax, that's when the wolves come and tear you limb from limb.
It sounds like you care a lot about the company and want to protect it.
You can make me take these fucking anger management classes, but that's not going to save this company. Costs are up, revenue is flat. Our cloud business is losing competitiveness. We're being outwitted, outplayed on every level, man, and we're just letting them do it to us.
I mean, this guy's got passion. Seriously. You want to talk about somebody who deserves to be, like, noticed and cared for? This is a guy who's poured his heart and soul into a company that doesn't give him shit in response. That sends him employees that he doesn't understand, doesn't provide any level of support around, you just got to change your tune here. Like, this guy's hurting. Understandable why he's angry, but that anger is likely driven from being hurt. This is a guy who loves results, who likes the outcomes of his hard labor, and he's seeing a place he's sunk his life into move in directions that don't feel good for him. So I see somebody sitting in front of me who's in pain, who is very confirmed in his perceptions of things, and who is unsure how to navigate a changing environment that he doesn't entirely agree with. That's a difficult spot to occupy. And as you get older, that gets that much scarier, because you're seeing all these young people come out of school that get hired likely at far less of a salary. And if he gets yanked, he's probably afraid of where he's going to go next, as you would expect anybody who's getting older in a typically youth-driven field to do. You sound scared, Mark. You sound protective of the company, and you sound scared. Is that fair for me to say? That's the read I'm getting from you.
We're too busy wasting time on shit like how I wasn't nice enough to the new hires.
Ooh, this makes a really strong assumption that this... boy. This makes the assumption that the new hires are the ones that gave this feedback, not that that there were higher ups that were witnessing his behavior and observing it. Like, I don't like this question of why do you think the new hires felt this way about you? I mean, I might say something like, do you take aside for the fact, it sounds like you believe you're justified in the way in which you interact with the new hires. Would you describe it as mean? Or how, actually, I wouldn't even say that. I might say, like, how would you describe your interactions with the new hires? Because I'm guessing he might say it's like direct or intense, maybe. I don't know that he would even decide. I don't even call it mean. He'd probably say he's trying to help them do better. I mean, who knows? But I might say, like, how would you describe your interactions with the new hires? Not why do you think the new hires felt this way about you?
Why do you think the new hires felt this way about you?
What? Why do they feel that way? Look, they get heated. That's the way it is. You think the Allies had time to make sure every soldier's feelings weren't hurt before they stormed the beaches at Normandy?
This guy likes war. This guy watches the History Channel.
And shit, don't tell me that this is not a war, because that's exactly what this is.
It's an interesting way to conceptualize it. That means it's kill or be killed. And when people are at war, they're afraid to die, so they kill so they don't die.
My responsibility is to make sure we get great products out the door, on spec, on time.
Hey, look, him using war metaphors is a great window. It's a great window into his thought process. That is not something for me to judge. That's not something for me to look at and go, oh God, you see this is a war? That would be my own bias, which I don't actually have, but that would be my own bias coming out if that was the case. He's giving me a window into the way in which he conceptualizes information. He sees this as do or die. He sees this as a conflict. And if he sees it that way, he likely sees the camaraderie and the side that he fights for. He's got some deep, deep, deep roots in it. If he's like, if this is a company he's willing to go to war for, that's investment, dude. My ass was never gonna enlist in the military. I don't love America that much. People that enlist in the military, I mean, there are many number of reasons why people do that beyond their love of their country. But if it's for love of country, it's like, God damn, man, like that shit goes deep. You're gonna go to war for something. The thing you're going to war for is something that you are super connected with. And so for this guy to conceptualize this as war, it means he is super connected to this company, which means he has a huge degree of investment in where it goes, what it does, how it operates, and the feedback that he receives from the higher ups. And I'm wondering if he freaked out a little bit when he got feedback that his behavior is something that now requires counseling. I would have to imagine that scared him. Now, all of a sudden, if I have to engage in a process that I'm not particularly familiar with and talk about things that I don't spend a lot of time talking about, feelings, if I don't do that well, I could be canned. That's a lot of pressure for something that you care so deeply about. So rather than focusing on the war metaphor itself, we focus on it as being a window into into the way in which he conceptualizes his role in this system. And that's very useful information.
And I happen to be very good at that. But if you want to start interfering with my ability to do my job, then we're going to have a problem, okay?
This is actually a pretty nice question because I get a sense that he's a problem solver and that he thinks about these things, and he already has expressed some degree of like he doesn't want to be here. So I would imagine that if I gave him advice right now, he's probably not going to be super interested in it. We just don't have that kind of rapport. So I like the idea that this is saying, what do you think would make things better for you? Let him kind of talk that out.
What do you think would make things better for you?
I mean, you know what? Nothing. I'm probably going to hang it up pretty soon anyway. Go ahead, record that with all your cameras and shit. I don't care anymore. Wouldn't be surprised if Raynor's watching me right now. Raynor, you son of a bitch. You owe me a lot. Me, guys like me, we built this company while you sat up there in your star chamber, drinking tea and lording it over us. Yeah, don't think I don't remember that blank look you gave me at the holiday party. Like, who is this guy? Does he even matter? What does he do? Too busy appreciating ancient pottery to remember one of your oldest and most loyal battalion commanders?
If this isn't an allusion to the veteran experience, I don't know what is. That if a soldier in the United States Army was in the same room as the President of the United States, the President of the United States doesn't know who the hell they are. You get out of the military, you go home, you try to go to the VA, get some service, help you out, help you reintegrate with civilian society, you're forgotten. And that's what he's experiencing. A system I care about. People I fought for. Something I invested all of my life into. Doesn't give a shit about me. And that's a horrifying realization. And so then when you see this new generation of people coming along saying, you better acknowledge me for who I am, impossible not to envy that position and to have to be in touch with your anger associated with the fact that this system doesn't give a shit about you despite your hard work. That's a really hard realization to have.
One of the humble, everyday guys who made you a fucking billionaire. What a waste of time. So, are we gonna wrap this up?
God, I can't do it. Oh my God, I can't do it. Oh, thank God this guy is aware that it's the AI. I'm so glad Like the fact that he knows that what I'm about to say is just utter bullshit. I hope he laughs in my face when I say this shit. Are you kidding me? Oh my god. Let's get your mind off of this, man. Let's go fishing.
Mark, I'm going to suggest you try a program called Lakeside Fishing.
Oh, no, no, no.
It may help you take your mind off things.
Oh,
What, are you kidding? Are you kidding me? No, I'm not gonna do that. I gotta get back to work.
oh god.
You can find it inside the Skanda Wellness app on your phone.
Oh god. I'm just so hollow inside.
Someone around here at some point needs to do some fucking work.
Amen, brother. Because, man, me giving you this intervention is indicative of a dog shit system. Oh, my God.
Try it for about 15 minutes each day in the morning or evening.
Oh, God. Yeah, dude. You want to go to work. You want to work your ass off and produce results. But, hey, take 15 minutes out of the day. Yeah, take a half hour out of your day and just go fishing and take your mind off of it. Oh, my God. That's how I'd be looking at her, too, if I was Mark. No meds, huh?
We hope to see you back soon, Mark.
You really think this piece of shit's gonna be the next big thing, huh?
I'm just trying to make ends meet, bro.
Thank you for speaking with Eliza, your personal counseling partner.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Ooh, why did she say it like that? I wonder if it's her frustration with the system. I can't imagine it would be frustration with Mark, but that's a very interesting tone shift. Gotta be frustrated. It's gotta be frustration with Eliza and Skanda. I hope it is.
Yeah, okay, goodbye. Fuck me.
Yeah, no rating, no tip. Yep. Sympathetic. That's not what you. Oh, that's bad. That's not the bad you want. Oh God. Okay. Skanda, old guard. Attitudes might be changing now, but the history's there. Sometimes the past is hard to escape. Didn't recognize his face or name though. He must be part of a different division than the one I was in. But I never had to work with him. Really? Man. I mean, that's Evelyn's perspective. I'm not going to take that away from her, but he doesn't seem like that bad of a dude. He cares a lot, and he's scared. And he's having an existential crisis because his thing he tied his identity to is leaving him behind. Whoever decorated this room must have picked a soft light with the idea it would help clients feel calm. Well, yeah, it's better than the fluorescent sterile lighting. I'm not sure it's working. Yes, it's the lighting. It's absolutely the lighting. This whole game can be summed up in if you change the lamp, change the decor, we're on to something. That's absolutely the takeaway here. 1000%. Time for my next client already. Harriman will be the start of episode 5. Friends, thank you very much for indulging this playthrough, for engaging with it in the ways that you are. I hope very much that this continues to be enjoyable for you, despite the fact that I want to rip my guts out. Really a fascinating experience to play this. It really is. Man. Leave a thumbs up and a comment so we can store it in a server and have it show me things I can do to make sure I understand all that is humanity, so I can be better for you. Man, seriously though, thank you for following this. If you've got something you want to say about anything I've said or anything about the game, please, by all means, leave a comment. I'd love to read it. I read them all. I don't respond to all of them, but I do read them all. And yeah, if you're binging, see you in the next episode where we'll do some more counseling, if you can call it that. And if you're waiting for the next one to come out, we'll get it out as soon as we can. You matter. I appreciate you. I'll see you on the next one.